first time you're seeing reality as it truly is, not filtered by your brain. And we haven't even gotten to the point where the starspawn's attacking anyone. Attacking anyone right now. Does it have ranged weapons to blast you from a distance? Well, it might, but consider this. It can literally warp space-time. So if it wants to have you near it, all it's got to do is warp space so it's right next to you. Or so you're right next to it. You're far away, then it goes, and there you are, on my hand, ready for him to do whatever he wants with you.
We interrupt our program to bring you this message.
This figure was done by a professional Games Workshop painter in the 1980s. And it's unusual because it's not a Games Workshop figure, it's a Grenadier figure, but I really like it. It's one of my favorite Cthulhu Investigator figures. By the way, we worked in a previous thing. This is about the right size of a human to a starspawn, 100 meters high. So there he is. So the starspawn can make you be next to him. He doesn't need a ranged weapon. He only has to have close-up weapons. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't have ranged weapons. He might, in fact, have them. You know, he could generate plasma beams or squirt out super strings or whatever, right? But now, what about us shooting it? Well, our ballistic weapons are going to have a problem. You see, our missiles are going to try to move ballistically through a distorted 3D continuum. It's going to be hard to hit him. They're going to be calculating and going off in weird ways. Maybe an advanced computer could, like, make up for some of this. I mean, the 3D world is changing around it as it goes. We might be able to counteract some of that, so some of our things would hit it, but it's not going to be easy, and we need experience with them to be able to do that at all. So far, it's bad. We're going insane. Geometry has changed. It can be wherever it wants. It can make us be wherever it wants. We can't hit it very well with our weapons, our ranged weapons at least, and you know, but it gets worse because Cthulhu and the starspawn can use alien science and telepathy to contact other beings to help them. They aren't alone. For example, so there's something that happens in the Lovecraft story, The Call of Cthulhu, that's not talked about a lot for some reason, but it's really unusual and ominous. There's a bunch of Louisiana cultists in the bayou, and they've murdered some people, okay? And in the story, it says there's a huge white polypus mass in the distance chanting and counter-chanting with the cultists. What's that? It's not Cthulhu. Is it a starspawn? Maybe, but it's white, and the starspawn are supposed to be asleep, so it's something else, something that is allied to the cultists and Cthulhu. Even worse, in the story, the cultists say, we didn't kill any of these people that are dead. These black winged things flew down and did the sacrifice for us. Now, Lovecraft was interested in black winged things. The night gaunts are black winged things. These don't seem to be night gaunts in the Call of Cthulhu because night gaunts don't kill people. Also, he has in one of his poems, Fungi Yuggoth, people go to arrest a person because they think he's crazy, and they find him talking to two humped shapes that grow black wings and fly away. Or maybe not grow them, but sprout them. And so black-winged dangerous things are a feature of Lovecraft stories. And I don't know what these are. Are these Biaki? Are these honey? Who knows what they are? There's something. There's literally possibly millions of things out there. The universe is a big place. Cthulhu has contact with these things, so it has these allies. Plus, we know that Cthulhu can call upon the deep ones and their allies. Now, I did a whole video already, how to fight a deep one, about how dangerous the deep ones would be to fight. And it turns out that they're a threat. You know, maybe we can hold them off, maybe not. But we have the deep ones and their Shoggoths. You can see my video, how to fight a Shoggoth, working with Cthulhu. And remember, a Shoggoth is not like Cthulhu. It's made of normal matter like us. So, you know, it's like easier to beat than Cthulhu. We have the deep ones, we have the shock, we have whatever it calls, we have all these, plus we have the starspawn. It's just getting worse. And it's gonna get worse in another way. Cthulhu has a fifth column. You see, Cthulhu has a cult of humans that are working for him. Hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people are already all throughout our society that are working for Cthulhu. Now, most of these people are degenerate lunatics, so they're probably not going to be at a high government level. But they don't have to be. All they have to be is degenerate lunatics, because these are not just degenerate lunatics. These are degenerates that are guided by the visions of a super intelligence to do things it wants them to do. So when they engage in terrorism or assassinations or other acts, which we know they're good at, okay, it's going to be precisely targeted. They're going to be able to go and do spying work for Cthulhu if he even needs that. It's going to be, that's all by itself, that's going to be a major problem. In World War II, we didn't have to deal with tens of thousands of Nazi spies inside America or Imperial Japanese spies. We just had what we had, Of course, they didn't have many spies from us either, but we're going to have this with Cthulhu. So the question is, are we doomed? Well, in a literal sense, yes, if it's a general starspawn uprising. We're too puny physically, we're too fragile mentally, we're too primitive technologically to really have a chance against the starspawn, even if they didn't bring all their stuff to bear. Okay, we can't stop him. But, going back to my previous idea, what if we just fought one starspawn? Just one. Maybe not Cthulhu, but possibly. How can we stop it? It's made of exotic matter, but it's still matter. We know we can interact with it because in the story, the Call of Cthulhu, the starspawn or Cthulhu, whatever it was in that story, it's rammed by a ship and it interacts. It's not killed, but it interacts. So, in the story, a huge starspawn chases the players. It never says it says it's Cthulhu, but it's an unreliable narrator. And in fact, the guy who's writing it down wasn't even there. So all we know is the starspawn was there. Maybe it was Cthulhu? But I can't help but think that if it was Cthulhu, he might have been able to waken up the rest of his population. But regardless, it's a starspawn. So, in many, Cthulhu is a starspawn. So, we know if Cthulhu is hit by a massive kinetic force, in the story, it's several hundred tons of steel hitting it at 20 or 30 knots. Well, he reacts by bursting and reforming. The starspawn in the story may have been taken by surprise because he just barely awakened. He may not have all his faculties. But the point is, we hit a starspawn with a kinetic force, and it has to react and reform. Okay? This is a big step forwards. We're making the starspawn react now, instead of just it doing things. So, if we had a continuous series of airstrikes, or artillery bombardment, and admittedly, he's not super easy to hit, might have to do an area thing because of the geometry thing, then we can force it either to be altering geometry to keep us from hitting it, or reforming constantly as we hit it. And if we can keep it suppressed this way long enough, maybe we can then take other actions. So, what if we hit Cthulhu with a nuke? Well, presumably, he would be even more dispersed than being hit by a steamship. And if he's made of muonic atoms, some of them might actually be ruptured or destroyed. That might take him a long time to reassemble. We might have hours or days before he returned. Maybe not days, hours, I'll say. Now, but here's the thing. Ultimately, all that the forces of a nuclear bomb is a electromagnetic and a chemical and a heat effect. Well, we can do electromagnetic heat effect with a particle beam. And I imagine that this is what the Great Race of Yith and the Elder Things used when they fought the starspawn. We know that the Great Race of Yith used what Lovecraft called lightning guns against each other in their civil wars. And we know that the Elder Things used essentially lightning guns against their own Shoggoths, which, like I said, are not made of Cthulhu's matter. So we know both these races had particle beams as weapons. Well, though I can't prove it, it's logical that's what they were using on the starspawn, or similar things to that. And let's move on for more speculation. This here that we're showing you is a power line. So it's electrical charge. Maybe we can get the starspawn to blunder into a power line or set a trap. Now, this is probably not going to work because starspawn are super intelligent. Super intelligent. So let me put it this way. You know how your dog sometimes tries to trick you into thinking that she wasn't fed this morning? My dog does. And she looks at you and says, "Oh, I'm so hungry. You haven't fed me." Well, I'm sitting there staring at the dog thinking, I literally fed you an hour ago. I know you've eaten. So the dog doesn't fool me. I assume you're not fooled by your dog. This is about the level of deception that we are compared to a starspawn. Like, we're pathetic. The starspawn sees our plans, but maybe we can bury it, the starspawn, or might not realize they were there, or we can bring the electricity to the starspawn via these. These are the famous maser cannons that are used in the Godzilla movies. Now, they never seem to be too effective on Godzilla, though they do work in the movie War of the Gargantuas, so who knows. But the cool thing is that these are a thing which, now we can't make them yet, maybe someday. They shoot the maser energy. They are designed to shoot giant monsters, hey, right? And maybe several of these together could damage or take out a starspawn, or maybe not take them out, but damage them over time. You might need several, and that's the problem. You see, a single starspawn is a region-threatening event. It's like a whole enemy invasion. I imagine it would only take a dozen or two starspawn to devastate all of the United Kingdom. Okay? Now, America is a lot bigger than the UK. America is a lot better armed than the UK. No offense, guys. So it might take 100 or more starspawn to defeat us, and maybe there's 1 million down there, but stay on track. We're talking about one single starspawn, okay? Now, that would be a devastating attack. It would probably destroy all of New York, or all of Dallas-Fort Worth area, or all of Berlin, or all of Tokyo, even though Tokyo might be more prepared for a giant monster attack, who knows? But as we fought back against it, as it's moving, we would learn its weaknesses. We'd learn how to sync our computers with laser targeters so that our shells hit more often. We'd build particle beams. We'd have neutron bombs. And let's talk about neutron bombs. Neutron bombs might be a particularly good way to deal with starspawn. Now, in the media, neutron bombs are portrayed as the ultimate giant bomb. They're not. They're actually super tiny atomic bombs, only like 1 kiloton of energy. That's like 1,000th as much as like a normal nuclear bomb of 1 megaton. Okay? That's why it doesn't damage property, because the explosion's comparatively small. It does make a big neutron burst, but that neutron burst is still smaller than a regular bomb's neutron burst. It just doesn't also devastate everything with the blast. That's why they're good, so to speak. They kill you with neutrons, but a starspawn has exotic matter. Those neutrons may be effective at breaking it up. Okay, depending on what it's composed of. And there'd be the useful side effects that the explosions wouldn't devastate our cities as much with neutron bombs. Now, a starspawn doesn't have organs that we can recognize. You can't shoot it through the heart. You can't break up its DNA. You can't shoot it in the brain. You have to destroy its matter, its whole matter over time. Okay, so as it takes damage from neutrons, or particle beams and other effects, it'll gradually diminish, okay? And you can't run a sword through it, but you can break it down. It's almost like it has hit points. And eventually, you can break it down to the point that it would be destroyed or forced to flee. So, here's the scenario. A starspawn attacks your hometown. Your hometown's destroyed. But then it starts progressing across the countryside, heading towards the big town up the road. A combination of airstrikes and small nukes slow it down. We go in there more and more. Eventually, with the forces at our nation's disposal, we are able, hopefully, to bring it down. Now, if it's Cthulhu, you do the same thing as you would with the starspawn, but you have to do it faster and more of it because he is presumably more magical and more dangerous than a regular starspawn. But it can be done. If you actually killed Cthulhu, the starspawn would have to grow or mutate or appoint a new starspawn as leader. As Cthulhu, I'm sure they can do that. I mean, they have a society, right? So probably we can't actually do this to Cthulhu anyway, though, because Cthulhu is not going to come all alone to attack us. He is a general and a leader, not a foot soldier. He'd have his armies with him. But one starspawn, with our current technology, we could probably take down, at least if we had time to start building the weapons that are most effective against him. Well, it's not easy to beat a starspawn or Cthulhu, but what do you expect from a lecture called How to Beat Cthulhu? There's no silver bullet. It's going to be tough. In the long run, we're doomed, and that's the whole point of the story of the Call of Cthulhu, is that humanity is a veneer on the earth that Cthulhu is going to polish off someday. But we can hold out longer if we can get that one starspawn. So with that, this is Sandy Petersen, signing off.